The Premier League preview show is back. Oh, it felt like a long week, a long 2 weeks since we did anything on this channel. But we've got so many games to go through. Manchester City versus Liverpool. Wow, that was a clash at the top a season ago. Bit different now, but one team still remains on top. Arsenal at home to Leeds. Newcastle against Man United, the United derby. Who gets the title of being called United? We'll find out in this one here, and so much more. And the relegation battle in the top four, and even in the middle of the table as well, guys. We're going to get through it with a double game week of this Premier League preview show. Let's get ready, people. Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're doing well, and welcome back to Tariq Talks. Guys, I've missed you. It's been a while. It's been too long, and the international break is well and truly over. And of course, with the Premier League preview show, I am with my wonderful co-host. It's been a while since we've chatted football. We chatted a bit of England on WhatsApp and stuff, but it's great to talk Premier League with my co-host, Edmund. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, good. Glad to have domestic football back. It was, it felt long. It felt long. The break, the first few days was quite nice, not thinking, I need to do this. I need to make sure I'm ahead of the stats and stuff. But then this week's been a bit of a drag. I think it was 6 or 7 days too long for me.
Yeah, I know. It was exactly that for me too. And I watched a bit of the football with the England game. Didn't watch anything else, I'll be honest. I was kept up to date with it with Scotland, getting a big win over Spain. Don't really care for it, I'm going to be honest with you. Not with that game in particular, just in international football when it's not a Euros or not a World Cup, or we're not just going into one. We watch those friendlies, and usually we watch them together and we chat about them with much more intent and looking at how the squad may look for the next tournament. I guess we got the qualifiers coming up. Not the qualifiers, the Euros coming up next summer, which, it's crazy because we had the Euros in 2021 when it was meant to be in 2020. Euros 2020 with COVID and whatnot. And then we had the World Cup in the winter only a few months ago. And we're looking ahead to another one, but not with 10 games left to go for my club and plenty of other games left to go with so much riding on it for a lot of Premier League teams this season. Nah, not for me. But how are you feeling coming up, heading into the weekend before we get into the games?
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't think my team played twice and your team doesn't play twice. So there's a double game week fever on FPL though. Hovering over the wild card, whether or not I take it. Yeah, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
I'm saving my wild card. Definitely got to save my wild card because, with the amount of injuries that we're seeing, who knows who's going to start, who's going to play up, who's going to turn up for the weekend's games.
And we've got 16 games to predict as well, TTF. So make sure you're in for the long one.
Get your teas, your coffees, even if it is at this late time. You're not meant to be drinking caffeine, but that's not me being responsible. Oh, what's that? Is that squash?
That's coffee.
Oh, decaffeinated?
Yeah, of course. I'm an adult.
Okay, there you go. So get your decaffeinated teas, your coffees, your popcorn, whatever you're eating. Or if you're not eating as well. Actually, people, sunsets happen, so we'll be eating for everyone as well. So big up to each and every one of you, and let's get into the comments before we get into it. Big up my brother Enz in the place. It says big up, bro, hope you're keeping good and well. I jumped on Enz's channel. Actually, I lied because I did watch the Italy game with Enz and Hugo on their channel. Join them, they kindly invited me, and big up, man, hope you're keeping good and well. Wilf in the building, suck T Money, and of course the real reason we tune in, Ed, suck my TTF. Big up yourself, G Staffy in the building. Hope you're doing well, G Staffy. Hope you're keeping good and well, and I'm sure you're looking forward to Middlesbrough turning up again. Paxton, Tariq takes his time, talks. Hey, it's on brand now. It's on brand. But now, also another reason why I do push it late is so that everyone can get this notification and be on time. YouTube works, unfortunately. But big up yourself, Pax. If T was on time from the beginning, we could have done more previews done already. Hey, adding up all those times that I would have started, it probably is about one Tariq Talks preview show, because this does go on for a long time. Big up yourself, Lod and Brom as well. Hope you're keeping good and well. Moss in the building says, whoa, here we go. Big up yourself, Moss. I missed you too, man. And we spoke to you at the start before the international break. And yeah, man, it's been a while. Who else we got in here? And we've got UV in here as well. Says, hello, sorry I'm late. No worries, man. You're not late at all. We're just about to get kicked off and going. And big up to each and every one of you that is watching after. Make sure you get your predictions ready for the live stream, but most importantly, in the comment section, because those are the ones that well and truly count. So people, we're going to get going, kicking off with the first game of the weekend. And what a game we have. Guys, we've kind of slightly changed out the layout, as you can see with the production on the stream. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. And also how we're going to talk about the games. We're going to go straight into them. We're still going to bring you the record stats and injuries, but we're going to go deep diving right into the juicy stuff. And we're going to talk about it right here. Man City versus Liverpool. As once mentioned, Ed, this was a clash at the top. This was the blockbuster Premier League game that we've seen in the last, 4 seasons?
Yeah.
With Man City, Liverpool being at the top, competing. Liverpool's drop-off, big drop-off from the levels that they previously were. And Manchester City having a slight drop-off, you'd say, in terms of their performances, not necessarily in terms of their actual results and statistics in that sense. But how do you see this game going, bro? You know, with the news we've had, I have to bring up this because this is major and this will probably affect a lot of people's thoughts going into it. Erling Haaland missing training. Is this something, I want to hear your thoughts on that as well, because he pulled out of Norway and there was a lot of talk surrounding that. But Darwin Núñez should be fit and Luis Diaz is back in training as well. But how do you feel going into this one?
Yeah, it's a weird one, this, isn't it? Because like you say, at the start of the season, you would have said these were the 2 blockbuster teams going into the season, thinking more than likely this is going to be one of 1 and 2, maybe 1, 2, 3, depending on how you rated Arsenal maybe at the start of the season. But Liverpool's drop off to be where they are now in 6th, but only a couple of Brighton results away from being lower than 6th and 5 points still away from top 5. It kind of just adds to some kind of anticlimactical thoughts on this game, but Liverpool Man City often delivers, doesn't it? I mean, I think we've got the last 5 meetings going along on the ticker down there, so it's all over the place, isn't it? We've got 2 draws, we've got a win, and we've got a couple of wins for Liverpool, a win for Man City, and 2 draws. So there's no clear winner in the form, and obviously their form in the league is different, of course, with Man City 5 on the bounce and Liverpool 2 losses, 2 wins and a draw. So there's not a lot to take from the form in terms of Liverpool's point of view. It pales into comparison to Man City's. And on the Haaland thing, is this a Ryan Giggs in the 90s for me? That's what I'm considering. Is this a slightly smaller nation and is club winning over country in this running? And I think even more importantly, maybe for Man City, with one eye on the Champions League and the incredible tie that they've got coming up, is Erling Haaland, to use an NBA phrase, is he managing his load? Is he managing his minutes? I've got an inclination towards that, and FPL has him at 50%, but FPL says random stuff that you should never listen to. So it is huge without Man City, without Haaland. Who does Julian Alvarez run the line as well against a slightly resurgent Van Dijk before the break? He was coming back to a bit more of his form. That's maybe something. What's your thoughts on the Haaland issue?
I think it's genuine because of the games that he's pulled out of. If it's a friendly, I think I would be looking at it a little bit differently. But because they are qualifiers against difficult opposition, they lost to Spain, they drew to Georgia, and you'd think, especially in the Georgia game, that they would have won that with Haaland, especially with the chance that Odegaard had there. I think it's genuine, and with Haaland's injury record, he's missed a few games this season, not as many as he may have missed, when he was previously at Dortmund. He missed quite a few games whilst he was there. So I have no reason to doubt that one. The initial thoughts were from a lot of people, Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, and football fans around, is that, City pulling out players, international, but not for qualifiers and not for a team like Norway where he is a figurehead. Him and Ødegaard are the key pieces. A little bit different when we talk about Rashford, when we'll get into that, because of the numbers that we have in that position. We can take a bit more of a risk in pulling him out and those things if he's not fit and ready. But Haaland, I believe it. And of course, their other injury that they've got is to Phil Foden as well, who's had his appendix removed. So good news for City fans is that it's not an open surgery, so it's more keyhole like type thing. So non-invasive, that's what it's called. Surgery to remove his appendix. So it could be 2 weeks at the earliest he could return. So he'll miss this game most likely. But those are two huge players when we're talking about Manchester City's attack. Since Phil Foden's returned, you've heard a lot of City fans, and I've seen a lot of City fans be happier and in terms of scoring goals, looking more fluid in those games. And that's what I've seen as well from watching them. Again, away from home against Bournemouth, Phil Foden was excellent in that game. Yeah, he had the key goal against Newcastle also. And he's been a part of those games where they won 6 and 7-0 against Burnley and Leipzig. I think that they would both be huge misses going into it. And just my thoughts quickly before you go and give your final thoughts and predictions. These two are not as formidable as they once were. I don't believe. With Manchester City, they're close, much closer to their top than their peak level. I don't think they'll ever reach that. Even if they go home and take the title, it would almost be even more amazing, right? Because they would, if they win the title, they would have done it without even being at their peak and with areas of improvement. And I look at both sides. Liverpool midfield, that's what everyone knows. I mean, Jacob could tell us that, do you know what I mean? In his limited knowledge, limited experience, not knowledge in football. But anyone can spot that. And Manchester City, it's their defense. Not as stable. Pep Guardiola's chopped and changed in that position. Rico Lewis came in and started a few games. Then Bernardo Silva coming in and covering at left back. Now he's gone with a flat back four of centre backs. It's obviously a problem area for both sides in their midfield and defence, respectively. So, it's going to make an interesting game. But what's your thoughts on how this one is going to pan out?
Yeah, I think you're right about Liverpool's midfield. It's so labouring the point to the point where we say it every week. That's the key. The key battle in nearly every game of football will be the midfield. And it's how does Man City's midfield, which, if you take out Haaland, their forward line's weakened. Their defence, we talked about all year, is weakened. But in that midfield, if they can control the ball, then we've got an obvious advantage for Man City also being at home in terms of sort of the comforts that brings. But Liverpool can and still have at times turned up for big games. And they do have Klopp's match winners. I talked about it when I did the preview show by myself when you were unwell a few weeks ago. The week before the Man United game was sometimes Klopp seems to rely on match winners. Yeah. And Salah's still obviously available. Darwin Núñez, if he's available, can be a match winner on his day when he all of a sudden puts one of those back heels in that normally he doesn't need to try. Salah is a match winner, and he's dragged this Liverpool team in some performances. But I am still going to lean towards Man City, but I think it's going to be a tight game without Haaland in particular. I think it's going to be a really difficult game. But that midfield, it's the midfield that's making me pick that. The midfield of Man City over the midfield of Liverpool, which we all know is very, very depleted this year. But I'm going to go with a tight but entertaining 2-1 to Man City.
2-1 to Man City is something similar that I'm thinking of. I'm hoping and praying that Liverpool do us a favour and get a result at the Etihad. Whether it's a win or a draw, I do not mind at all. When you're in a title race, and Liverpool fans and Man City fans will know this, a draw is as good as a defeat when you're competing at that top level where Arsenal and Man City are going to be looking at that 90-point mark. A draw is a defeat in essence. So for me, I want that to happen, but I'll be honest, I still think Man City are going to win it. Let's say worst case scenario, Phil Foden and Haaland can't play. I still think that Manchester City will cause Liverpool too many problems. And if this is at Anfield, like it was in the reverse fixture where Liverpool weren't able to win, I'd be talking about this completely differently. But Liverpool's midfield, how they're open in transition, how Klopp still persists in terms of how Liverpool will play and keeping that style. And I don't disrespect him for that. And I know Liverpool fans want him to make those tactical adjustments and change, but I think it's just a matter of personnel that needs to be changed in those areas. And once that has been done, once you've added the right players in, you will still be back. And it is kind of a bulletproof system as long as the players are able to basically run at the ability that they were previously. So I would love for Liverpool to win. I know they've got their threat, Darwin Nunez, Bobby Firmino and Salah. That's their best front three, in my opinion. That's Liverpool's best front three. Gakpo is not bad. Jota, he's definitely not bad either. So they've got options in there, but I think Man City will nick it. You said 2-1. I'm going 3-2 to Manchester City. Goals galore. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I am. So yeah, Liverpool fans in the chat, give me some more encouragement into this. And we've got plenty of comments to go through as well in terms of this big game. UV in the place, Liverpool representative. I think we only turn up in the big games. That is my only hope we have against Arsenal, at the Arsenal game. And then, you know, it's giving the example of they beating Manchester United 7-0, beating Tottenham 2-1 away from home, and beating Manchester City 1-0 at home. So that's my only hope. I can hear that. It's a good point that you've made right there. And yeah, I don't think he's wrong, is he, Ed? In terms of Liverpool,
not. Or that's kind of what I touched on, wasn't it? Is the fact that these match winners sometimes they will turn up for these games because they know they have to. There's definitely complacency is the wrong word with this Liverpool team, but there's a stagnation, isn't there, with where they are right now. And I've said it ad nauseum on the previous shows and whenever I've been on the streams with you on Turi Talks. I think it's not just sort of the lack of tactical change from Klopp. And they should have bought players. He's admitted that. But for me, I've said it constantly, is that it's this 5 years of trying to keep up with this machine of Man City. They've hit that brick wall right now. Yeah,
I understand. Luke's gone for a 5-1 victory for City. Woof, a blowout right there for the citizens at home to win that one. Shay's gone for the 2-2 draw. Shay, hope you're right. Hope you are. Wilf's gone for a 3-2 Liverpool win.
I was going to say there's a few Arsenal fans are wondering if it's heart over head.
Oh yeah,
but it's not necessarily wrong either. I think this can definitely go both ways. I think we've talked about that, but there's a lean in the predictions to where the Arsenal fans have gone for, and I'm going to keep saying it: Man City blinking, like I've been saying all season.
Man City 2, Liverpool 1, says Paxton. Same result that you predicted right there. The lesser of two evils and one bold fraud. Hard to predict, but don't want Liverpool getting into the Champions League. And yeah, huge game for Liverpool's ambitions. They're going to be looking at elsewhere in your game, that we're going to discuss soon as well into this. So yeah,
I think that's a good point there from Paxton. Is the fact that we've talked about this before we came on stream and during the day. There's so much on nearly every one of these games, and maybe we shouldn't overlook Liverpool's need to pick up the points just as much as Man City, but for a different reason.
Absolutely.
Let's not pretend that they're sort of happy to get into the Europa League. They're not. That's not going to help their ambitions next year. That's not going to bring the money in that we know that they've got. Not necessarily financial worries, but obviously they're is it FSG for them?
Yeah, FSG.
Tried to float them earlier on in the season, thought about selling them. So that Champions League money, that securing that bag is vital.
Yeah, exactly. The battle for Bellingham between these two sides is what it looks like. And if they are to get Bellingham, they're certainly going to need Champions League football for that to afford him, I'd say. So it'll be interesting to see. Ends in the play says the best teams about. He did say lol afterwards, but you certainly were. You certainly were like, and still considered was one of the best teams. These two being the best teams about just after the Community Shield. Big up yourself, Mr. 200 in the place as well. He says good evening to us. Get your comments in the afterwards, bro. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hope that you do enjoy it as well. We've got plenty to talk through. Let's have a look. What else have we got in here? We've got good evening to everyone and good evening to Wesbird and Mr. and Mrs. Wesbird. I can see in the chat and each and every one of you that's in here right now. UV says, I think we could pull up an upset, but he is scared of City. Adding on what he said earlier, could have no Haaland and Foden, but I think it will be a 1-1 draw. Hope we pull an upset and we help Arsenal out. Hope you do as well, UV. Indeed. Manchester City told Rodri to injure Ødegaard and they injured Tierney, but that tackle on Ødegaard was dirty. Horrific, shocking tackle. He didn't actually injure Tierney too badly in the end. He was in training this morning. But get this man to 700 subscribers, says Shay. Appreciate you, man. Guys, smash that like button if you haven't done so already. What we got else we got in here? Man like Shawnee in the place, another Liverpool fan, says Man City will overrun us. Our midfield is terrible. Yeah, we kind of touched up upon that ourselves, me and Edmund there. Westbird says that Edmund is talking sense. And that's why they said last time. That's what they said last time. And we won 1-0. It is true. The Anfield factor is big, I would say, for that one. That's why I'm worried for when we go there next week. But that's next week's conversation.
There's not quite the Etihad factor, though, is there? Let's be honest. So,
no, but Man City don't lose at home.
No.
If you have a look at their record, it's not the atmosphere, but they've got a very good record at playing at the Etihad, unless it's against Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. But yes, wonder if Klopp will be there next season or will he get bored? I think he will be in terms of his future's been committed. Signing a deal last summer, or about 12 months ago at the earliest. Yeah, so he looks like he still will remain there. Indeed, we've got everyone else's predictions in here as well. We've got plenty more to go through. I'm just having a look to see if anyone's got any predictions out there. We got Moss says 2-2 in this game. City versus Liverpool. KD beat Alvarez as well as Nunez and Salah.
That's a great one for not just the Arsenal fans, but the neutral. Goals would be all we want. It's what we want from this game. I'm a neutral in this game. What we want is these two teams to slug it out.
Exactly that. And just before we move on into the next game, guys, listen to Wesbird. Smash or caress the like button, peeps. Yeah, do whatever you want to that like button, as long as it's been physically touched and it still remains blue on your screen or white. Depends. It depends on what device you're watching. People, really appreciate you being here. And let's move on into the league leaders, the mighty Arsenal, who are at home to Leeds in this game. You know, this is one of those games, where as fans, you look at it and you say, banker, easy win, top of the league versus a relegation fighting, 14th, but, down there in the battle. Leeds, easy win. As an Arsenal fan, I'm not feeling that way because you can never walk into these games like that. I think we had a nice reminder of that against Bournemouth in our 3-2 victory, coming off the back of an international break, not knowing the fitness levels of all the players. A lot of them didn't go for international duty, which I'm happy about, of course. But the ones who did go have returned fit. Thankfully, Partey was in training today, so that's big news for us. But the big news that's broken in the past hour, just before we started this stream, was William Saliba. Right, so that injury, ladies and gents, if you haven't heard, so it was first when they've had 2 scans. The first scan was much worse than it was first feared, and they thought he would have needed an operation, and that would have ruled him out for the remainder of the season. But the second scan was a lot more positive. But it is an injury that looks like it will have to be managed if we are going to see him play
So
again.
what is the injury to?
Hamstring. That's what it is.
Okay.
First of all, it was initially looked at the back area, but it's a hamstring injury, so it is quite a bad tear. But it's not bad enough where it's completely off the tendon. This is my predicting now. This isn't news that's been put out there. This is me thinking, with the knowledge that I've gained, is that if it was an injury that required surgery, it means it have to be completely off the tendon. Whereas it must be a bad tear that it can get healed, but it's not good news overall for the long term. And we may still not see him again this season if Arsenal don't feel they want to risk it, but they are hopeful and they're not ruling him out. They're taking it on a day-by-day approach. That's the news we heard on William Saliba. But for this game, I think Rob Holding will be fine in this one here. Ed, what's your thoughts? I've kind of spoken a little bit there, more than a little bit, but what's your thoughts of this game? Because it's massive for both sides at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's huge. And we saw, obviously, Leeds against my team, Wolves, last week not last week, I wish it was last week. Jump, 4 places with that one win?
Yeah.
And I watched all of that game. I can't tell you if Leeds are any good or not because Wolves were awful and we let our passions overtake us, and we'll talk about Wolves later, so I won't touch on them too much. But Leeds look better under Javi Gracia now rather than Jesse Marsch. They look like they have a little bit more attacking intent. That was the only difference. I believe Nonto is a doubt, is he? I believe after international duty.
That's another injury. Yeah, Leeds have
he was a huge outlet for them and could cause problems. So my question, I guess, back to you before who plays back 4? Talk to me. Without Saliba, you've lost the Rio Ferdinand to Gabriel's Vidic, and that's quite important. So who is it? Who's the back 4?
It's the same back 4 that we played against Crystal Palace, and that's White in at right back, Holding and Gabriel's the centre backs, and Zinchenko in there at left back. So I think the biggest part of that back 4 though is who's in front of it, and that's Thomas Partey. I think him being in there gives you that mobility. If we do get stretched, and he can come back and cover those wide areas. But yeah, he definitely will be Rob Holding playing in there because we've got no Tomiyasu either. I think Tomiyasu's fit. You could talk about switching White back and centre back or Tomiyasu in there. But yeah, we're kind of left into a bare bones in that position, I'd say now. But yeah, Holding.
Yeah, the only other backup question after that is then Holding Gabriel, God forbid, get injured or a knock. Who's next? Who's next on the list without Tomiyasu?
If it's Gabriel, then it's Kivior that comes in, and then at right centre back we are short in depth there because Tomiyasu is also the depth in that position, and we've essentially lost 2 players worth. That's why it's better to get if he was to get an injury to Tomiyasu, it'd be better for a forward to get it because cluster injuries are what ruin seasons.
Yeah.
And that's what hit us last season at the end of the day.
I do think, though, I think you can either see this from an outside point of view as easy win, top of the league against a team struggling. And for you guys that are Arsenal fans in the chat, you see banana skin as being the other possible. But I think looking at it, I'm trying to look at it as neutrally as possible. I still see Arsenal having too much for this Leeds team. The reason I asked about the defence is because I still think Arsenal may be susceptible. You seem slightly better away from home defensively as well.
Yes,
So that's another reason. But I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. I think it'd still be relatively comfortable. I do see Arsenal. We've got the form at the bottom there. The last 5 meetings between these 2 teams have all been Arsenal wins. Arsenal's form, for those that like it, unbeaten in 5 still. I put the draw, which he lost on penalties, down as a draw because it doesn't feel right to say it's a loss. Whereas Leeds, a little bit more up and down with 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw. So I'm trying to see this from the neutral's point of view. I see this being a comfortable, for everyone other than Arsenal fans, 3-1 win.
And I think we're helped by Leeds getting a few injuries themselves. Nonto, he's looking like he won't be available in this game. We know for sure Tyler Adams won't be available, and he's a big player in that midfield who brings a lot of energy and physicality in there. We also know that Max Verber, he won't be fit. Their left-sided centre-back who has done well under Javi Gracia in particular. So I think that helps Arsenal a little bit more. But then you can also look at it and say it gives Leeds a bit more, they're not going to be as expansive as they usually are. I know they've changed a little bit under Javi Gracia, but maybe they will sit back a little bit more and try and play on the break. I think that benefits Arsenal. King literally tagged me in something on Twitter, and it's a stat that Arsenal have made the most line-breaking passes in the Premier League, more than any other side. And
so, what does that mean, T? What does that mean?
Line-breaking passes is basically playing through into playing through the opposition's formation, their block. We've come up against a lot of low blocks, so breaking through their midfield into their defense and then breaking through their defense into attackers. So yeah, it means that Arsenal are very good at transitioning the ball up the pitch and creating opportunities and getting into dangerous areas and making the other team run that way. So yeah, Arsenal got the most in that. So that's great to see. My prediction, Ed's gone for a 3-1. I think that's a good, solid prediction to make when Arsenal are playing at home to concede, because we generally do. We let Crystal Palace score and they can get a shot on target for many games. I'm going to say a clean sheet. I'm going to say 3-0. I think we are going to win this. I know it's a little bit different. I started talking about Arsenal and ended it in different ways. I am nervous for it, though, because these are the games as fans, easy, bank it. This is where the bookies make money, I'd say, with this one. So be careful. Every game in the Premier League is difficult. Let's not forget when we went to Ellen Road, that was probably one of the best performances we've seen against us. We were very fortunate to come away with a win. So they are good going forward, Leeds. Not so great going that way. That's why I think we'll score. Hopefully keep a clean sheet. Let's see what everyone else is saying in the chat here. Pack says Arsenal 3-0, winning by 3-0. Same prediction there. Mr. Wesbird says we're going to bish, bash, bosh them 3-0 to the mighty Arsenal. If we don't start well, then it could be a nervous afternoon for us Gunners. Yeah, it tends to be when we, especially at home with expectation. This is where you want the crowd to be up for it and really go and push us over the line. But I think when you go for games like this, the crowd sit with a bit more expectancy, waiting to score.
This is a straight up 3 o'clock kickoff, right? This one,
3 o'clock kickoff, so it's not televised, unfortunately. But 3 o'clock straight after that Man City Liverpool game. Wonder if that will have a factor in terms of the players feeling it into going into this one. I'm worried now that we'll be finishing the season with Holding. Then, do you know all the only games I'm worried about with Holding in particular? It's Anfield and Etihad playing up against Man City and Liverpool. The rest, not really. I'm quite confident because how Arsenal play now, guys, this might give you a little bit more encouragement. We're a different team to when Holding came in last season. He had Cedric to the right of him. We had no left back because Tierney was injured. Thomas Partey wasn't in front of him. We had Mohamed El Neni. Completely different now. When he looks to his left, when he looks to his right, he's got different players. So I think our system, and you saw it, he didn't put a foot wrong against Crystal Palace. And I know it's Crystal Palace, but with how our system is now and how intelligent our players are and how we are such a machine, I think it takes a lot for us to be dropping off in such levels like we did last season. I don't think we're that fragile anymore. Would you agree, Ed? Do you see differently?
Oh, definitely. The options for a centre back with maybe more limited passing range than Saliba, which is, to be fair, most of the centre backs in the Premier League, because he is a ball playing centre back, is that you've got Xhaka that can drop, you've got Partey that will always be open, you've got Ben White tucking in quite nicely next to him, and left, right, behind him, in front of him, he'll see Zinchenko, because he just roams the pitch like some playmaker. So it's a lot different to like how you talked about. You're not gonna. You wouldn't think that the outball is going to be hoof it long with the way he's playing. And let's not pretend that he's not sort of a lower Premier League ability centre-back, because he is. He's comfortable. Like you say, I'd imagine he wants to bang all day with players like Mitrovic and all the other people that will be up in his face. So you're only going to have to really worry about the elite strikers and maybe the more trickier strikers that may get him to, get too tight and be spun. But you're not bringing in a 17-year-old untried, untrusted kid. He's going to be able to cope with most of the centre forwards that you're playing against. And defending is more than man to man as well.
Yeah, exactly that right there. I think you explained that excellently well in terms of Arsenal with Rob Holding in that position. Shay's gone for a 4-0 Arsenal win right there. Hope you're right, Shay. And he says your favourite Arsenal player signed a new 5-year contract.
He's everyone's favourite Arsenal player.
Should be. Yeah. Oh, man. Just a quick word on him from both of us.
What, from Starboy?
Starboy. He seems to be got taken to a new stratosphere for his performance against Ukraine. If you've been like me and Ed, or you every Arsenal fan, you'd know this already. How good this guy is and the level he's been taken to this season. Sorry, what a player! One of the best players that Arsenal have produced. And when it's all said, I said it from earlier. I think he'll take it. He'll take that crown from Tony Adams. Think he will. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember I asked this question? And then we was like, Tony Adams, 21, captain, won the league, etc. He might be 21 and he might win the league as well at the same time, as well as taking Arsenal from the darkest times, I'd say.
It's always difficult to, compare eras, compare times. Tony Adams could play centre-back now, like he could back then. He was a classy centre-back. But just regardless of comparing anyone, Bukayo Saka is just, if you watch football, he does everything perfectly. He does not touch the ball unless it benefits him. Everything he does is a benefit to the team and a benefit to his positioning and even his body positioning. If you just take 5 minutes to just watch him, every time he gets the ball, there is no wasted movements. Everything is determined. Everything is purposeful. And where possible, everything's forward. He's incredible. The kid came in and played left wing back at like 12. Do you know what I mean? He was trusted to play there. And then he moved to his rightful position, a right winger. And he's a phenomenal footballer. Absolutely phenomenal.
And you know what? So much in between that. He went into left wing. He went to left centre midfield. He's played so many positions, right centre midfield, and he's performed at such a high level. I was watching a clip on Twitter the other day, and he played in that left centre midfield spot against Brighton and also against Manchester City at the Etihad. My word, what a footballer he is. Such an intelligent man on and off the pitch. So humble too, to have the character. This is why I love him so much. It's not because of what he does on the pitch entirely. A lot of it is because of how he behaves and carries himself from where he came from that Euros in 2021. The low he must have felt, the amount of abuse he took racially, to bounce back straight away and take penalties. He's a penalty taker now for us. There's a lot about his character.
It's the best bounce back since Beckham in '98. In truth, Beckham had effigies being burnt of him because he got sent off, and that was just as out of order as everything Saka and everyone else went through. But it's a character of the man, and
great example
how both of them as young men coped with that, and hopefully will go on to be as successful.
Yep. Exactly. He will be the main man for England when it's all said and done for Kane.
He has to be. He has to be.
For sure. So, yeah, there's the love for our boy Bukayo right there. Weston McKennie did come off sick, so he's also a doubt. Well brought up, Moss. Holdini has got it until Saliba is back. 3-0 to the Arsenal, says Wilf. UV also says 3-0 to the Arsenal. Comfortable win, but remember, Leeds are fighting for their lives. So Arsenal cannot underestimate. They had an example versus Bournemouth. UV, spot on right there. Well said. 3-1 to the Arsenal says Moss, Saka's big contract. Saliba back. And Hammy for Moss. He knows this. And he did say, yeah, Moss said that he when you back goals, your hammy tends to as well at the same time. And those injuries do coincide a lot.
Because it's a 3 o'clock kickoff as well, I'd imagine across the pond sports talk, Moss will have the games flying through on DAZN, I'd imagine, or whatever it is that you guys have out there.
Yeah.
So if you are across it, it's like, think Jeff Stelling, but more Canadian, and that's what you've got with Moss.
Yeah, exactly.
So get subscribed up if you're not.
Go check it out, people, if you want to be kept across with the 3 o'clock kickoffs. When Arsenal playing, you will see a lot of Moss going up and down as well. But he's joined by Luke sometimes, depending on what time it is in the day. But he definitely has someone else there as well. So go check him out, people. Xhaka can play also in defensive position. Left back he's played there, but it's not ideal. Agree with that right there. Luke, not happy. Playing for the rest of the season without Saliba is a big concern. We need to play to holding strengths. If we play a high line, then forget about the title. I think there's little nuances that you can make. We can still maintain a high line. Just bring Ben White closer to him so he doesn't have to cover the wide areas as much. Because if we can pin teams going that way, we are also one of the best counter-pressing teams, and that allows us to play such a high line. So yeah, I hear your point right there, and you can do ways to cover that, but you don't have to completely rip up what you've done and go differently, because then Zinchenko's redundant at left back if you do that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I still stick to saying the playing way. Phil Jones with pink boots is better than Hove.
That really made me laugh, that did, when I read that.
We'll move on now into the next game, which involves your team packs, and that is Newcastle United versus Man United. This one is the 4:30 kickoff here in the UK. Massive game for the top 4 hopes for both sides. Manchester United with 50 points in 3rd, and Newcastle 47 in 5th. Am I correct in saying that, bro?
You are. I quickly checked. I quickly flipped over and checked.
This one is huge. Newcastle are going to be looking for redemption here. There's so much riding on it after the Carabao Cup final defeat. Man United without Casemiro, completely different side. Yeah, he was immense in that game in the final. Man of the match performance from Casemiro for sure, in the way he was covering the lines and preventing Bruno Guimaraes from having as much of an impact as he could have in that fixture in February. But man, it's going to be difficult for United going away from home. This is one of the few tests that they've got going away from home. They've still got to play Brighton, and they've still got to play Spurs with a new manager, and we don't know how they're going to look going into that one. But
that'll be fine.
Oh, I don't know about that. Spurs, look at what they did to Man City.
Well, Spurs is the next game.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But Newcastle hitting a bit of form themselves as well. Coming back into it. Isak, what a performance he had against Nottingham Forest. But yeah, man, like the new injury news isn't looking good though for Newcastle as it was going into this game. It wasn't, but I've seen a lot of players that could return for this one in Anthony Gordon, Saint Maximan, Sven Botman returned from injury, Nick Pope had a knock, which forced him to drop out of the England camp, but should return for this one. So there's a lot of players who are touch and go, but the big one being fit is Isak, the man in form right now. And then United, we spoke about Casemiro. Eriksen is back in training. Sabitza's there. Martial returns. Rafael Varane is also going to be back. And of course, Rashford, he will also be back. But Ed, I've given you I've kind of set this up for you here.
Mm-hmm.
Man United traveling to Newcastle. Who's this game bigger for? Like, who needs the win more?
Who needs to win? Newcastle. They need to win more, right? Because Man United have got the game in hand over Spurs, just like Newcastle, but Newcastle need to bridge that gap. I think it's bigger for Newcastle as well, because this could be a defining moment in their season. They've been top 4 for most of it. Everyone was so impressed, but you talked about draws earlier. That's what Newcastle's downfall has been, hasn't it, all year. Draws against teams that they should be beating, like Wolves. They drew 1-1 at Molineux when we were right in the pits of the worst run in our Premier League recent history. 11 draws and only 12 wins is crazy, isn't it? I think if they lose here, they start to lose ground on the top three, and then will that quickly become losing ground on the top four with Liverpool? Brighton have got 3 games in hand on most teams, or 2 games in hand with most teams. They're sniffing around just like Liverpool are. I think it's more important for Liverpool personally, because I think Man United have got enough about them with the games that they've got left to pick up those points that they need. But Newcastle, they have the money from obviously where they've got the money from, the state, but they need the status to go with that money now, and to attract the better players like they have been doing, they need Europe, and to do that they need to stop drawing and picking up these wins to back up their progress, because they are probably a year ahead of where they're going to be. So to keep that progression, keep going forward, they need Europe, and if they were to get Champions League, they're a problem next year with the fact that they have more financial fair play to work with, because they'll generate more money by the Champions League money.
Do you know what though? Like,
what do you think?
With Newcastle though, I think it's a bit like Arsenal last season. Champions League's the dream. Champions League is when you're in this position, that's what you want, and you're desperate for it as a fan. But I still think they progress and go beyond with it, because with the thing with the Europa League money, right? If you make it's into the quarterfinals of the Europa League, you get the same money as getting into the just making it out of the group of the champions. It's weird how it works. Quarters to semi-finals, that's where the big jump in the Europa League money goes from. And Newcastle, if they get in there, it might actually be better for them transitioning, because what the issue is now with Newcastle's problem is their squad depth, right? If they can start to build that squad depth, improve the first 11 and push other players down into that bench and create real competition for places, that's what Newcastle are going to be looking at. Of course, if they get in the Champions League, brand Newcastle are able to attract whoever they want now, with the money that they have and being in the Champions League. Of course, Newcastle isn't a place that a lot of non-English players will want to that look at and say, I want to live in Newcastle. But what they have there with the fan base, they'll be able to sell it easily in terms of being a Newcastle legend. So yeah, this one's huge. And the reason I asked, is it a bigger game? If Matt, you've got what we need to remember, right? Man United still ain't won off the back of that 7-0 in the Prem. And not they've won games. I know they beat Fulham. That Fulham game, you watched it. I didn't see it, but I was hearing a lot of talk at the back of it. Man United, up until that red card, those red cards, sorry, plural, were terrible, and Fulham were dominating it. And this is what I said, and people said, "No, we'll bounce straight back." I said, you don't lose 7-0 and just come back next week and be performing at the level you were before that. It takes a mental hit and a mental and takes emotional damage in a way out of you, and a real hit into the confidence. So this game is going to be huge for Man United to try and get back that belief going into it, because if they were once not, fans, there was a lot of talk around. Not everyone believed it, but it was title. Maybe can we compete and get closer to Man City and Arsenal? Whereas right now, a loss in this one and results going their way, where Spurs, when we talk about that game, Liverpool, if anything happens, they're right in the thick of it, and it's going to be an interesting one. But as I'm sure tender item in the place, I'm sure he'd say, I'd love it if we could beat them, love it. As once Kevin Keegan said. But Ed, what my prediction for this one now, and then you go, and then you guys in the chat, I'm going for a Newcastle win. Casemiro's a huge loss. 2-1 to Newcastle for me. That loss of Casemiro in the midfield, I can't see McTominay and Fred doing it. It'd be interesting to see what Ten Hag does if he goes for a Sabitzer and a Fred, or a McTominay, Fred and Sabitzer in there to really pack it out and take away that number 10 and either stick Fernandes out on the right or where he did in something similar to how he did that against Liverpool. I think he needs to pack out that midfield because that's going to be the issue. That's where Bruno Guimaraes is going to be getting the ball moving it, spraying it, getting it out to your Kieran Trippiers. And we spoke about Casemiro's performance in the Carabao Cup final. Even though Newcastle, they just couldn't create the chances because everything was breaking down there. I think they can create those chances without Casemiro in there. But what's your prediction, bro, going into this one?
I am going to go with this one. I'm going to go with the draw. I'm going to go to type a little bit with Newcastle at home in particular. They eke out draws where maybe they should win and vice versa. Difficult. I didn't know Botman was back, which is important because I was going to go a Man United win. But with Botman back, Isak seems to be in form and on form. I'm going to go for goals though. I'm going to go 2-2. 2-2. And maybe McTominay brings his goal-scoring boots from Scotland back with him.
4-2 in the international.
Newcastle's pretty much in Scotland, so he might just pretend he's still there.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. Yeah. Big up yourself, each and every one of you in the chat. We've got Mr. Wesbird. He's gone for a 1-1 draw in this one. Same result, different scoreline to what Ed's gone for there. Pax has gone for a 2-1 Manchester United win. That'll be big, be huge in terms of your confidence. Draw or Newcastle win, says Wesbird. She can't decide which one. But yes, you don't see Man United picking up the 3 points. Rashford will step up again, says Pax. He's been immense, has Rashford. Wonder where you'd be without him, for sure, definitely. He's been scoring massive goals for them. Man United's player of the season, without a doubt. Even though they do have some good contenders like Casemiro, but Rashford takes it. What about you, bro?
Yeah, I think Casemiro's come in and been fantastic, but Rashford's goals have dragged Man United 3 games.
Definitely. With Isak back and no Casemiro, 2-1 Newcastle for me, says Wilf. Eriksen looking good, might be back in a couple of weeks if all goes well. That'll be a huge plus for Man United in this top 4 race. And when I heard that news earlier on today, I thought, that if you can ride out these next 2 games, Eriksen coming in there helps you in that midfield, progressing the ball, can keep in possession a lot more and being a threat on the counter too. So yeah, he's a big plus when he returns. He was playing every game for you before that injury. 3-2 Newcastle, says Shay. We've got plenty of Newcastle wins. Peony in the building, hope you're well. Is gone for a 9-0 Newcastle win. Tender Item says, let's destroy those Manx. Newcastle 1, Man United 0. Can't see the Manx Menace winning it. Draw for me, says Mr. Wesbird. As a Newcastle fan, I just want evil Newcastle to just get everyone upset. Yeah, I think you are. They're kind of taking that siege mentality, aren't they, Ed? In terms of what they're building. A bit more.
It's all they can do. It's all they can do, isn't it, right now? They've gone from everyone like, plucky Newcastle to they've got loads of money and we don't know where they've got it from. So all they can do is siege. If you don't do siege mentality, what are you going to do? You're not going to win anyone over.
No, it's true. That's what I think we've tried to do as an Arsenal fan as well. Is Arteta's build that Arsenal fans getting lucky. You want that because it keeps everyone together. Mourinho was a specialist at doing that. Alex Ferguson was amazing at doing that also. Moss Eriksen will need to work on his fitness, but it's still a little too early. Tender Item says we will edge it past Man United on Sunday. I want to see more rival fans continue to hate us for our boring drawing specialist football right there. Moss says to TT, if Magpies want Tierney, then 70 mil. Otherwise, he wants out to La Liga or Italy or Celtic to dominate with the best right back, Alistair Johnson. Yeah, that's once again building upon that depth. That's what they'll be looking to do next season. I think their strategy has also been quite interesting. The players that have been linked with are British, with Tierney, McTominay. He's someone that Eddie Howe really wants. James Maddison. I think it's all kind of basically to suit the brand. There was a lot of criticism with the Saudi ownership, sports washing, etc., from the media. But I think if they build a British team, this gets them back in the good books.
Also, you need all that money to buy British players.
Yeah,
because of the heavy tax. The heavy tax.
Yeah, exactly that. If we can convince Botman, Bruno, and Isak to join us when we are relegation candidates or just finished 11th last season, imagine what money does if we get Europe. Exactly that, indeed. What team money this in Newcastle? It's a wicked town. Hey, it's a lot. I heard a lot about it, with with a lot of people in the UK. But I'm saying people who they come from Madrid or Spain or Portugal. I ain't thinking of Newcastle, unless they got Europe and money. So yeah, so that's what they'll have over other teams. Like how they'll compete with players for like Chelsea, for example, because London is a big factor for a lot of players to move there. You wouldn't see Skamaka and Paqueta if West Ham was in Manchester. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, Man United is a team I always want to beat out of any team. We can beat Spurs, Chelsea every now and then. You got a good record against Chelsea, but beating Man United is the one I want to knock out just for one day. Man United still top 4 though. So basically, translate, he would love it if he could beat them. Final ones, we got Newcastle 1, Isak and Rashford with the goals. And big up yourself, Em, and everyone else locked in as we've gone through the first 3 games and we're just under an hour, so we've got plenty more to go through, people. We'll try and pick up the pace a little bit more. But the next game that we have here is, Edmin,
it's the Spurs game, Everton v Spurs.
Everton at home to Spurs. Huge one again. I feel like we're going to be saying this for each game that we've got right here. Coming back, Everton in that relegation battle, along with many other teams in and around them. This is the Monday night game, so both teams will know, what they need to do and how important it could be in terms of shifting the table for them. By the time we get into this one, Spurs, great new change. Let's start with that first. We have to. I want to hear your thoughts, Ed. Conte's gone, but they've decided to go with Stellini and Ryan Mason until the end of the season. What's your thoughts on that part in particular as well?
I think that shows that the decision to sack him was made on the basis of his press conference and his attitude. Clearly, there wasn't a plan. And it gives a charm offensive of a few months to try and get Nagelsmann. Whether or not he's going to go there, because I think he might end up at Real Madrid and Ancelotti move to the side.
Brazil.
To go to Brazil. And that's the domino effect of sort of that shock sacking of Nagelsmann. I think someone said it just about the money that's in, forgot who it was that was talking about Newcastle can get those players. It's a coaches' league, right? This Premier League. The best coaches want to manage in this league. If you look all the way down the league, there are managers that probably should be nowhere near mid and lower level Premier League teams in there. But I don't see Nagelsmann coming unless the money and the draw of London that you were just talking about is too much. But the money and the draw of Madrid is incredible. So I don't see that happening. So that gives them some time to tread some water and to find someone else. Whether or not it's Poch, who knows? But the Conte thing was nuts. What was your thought on the Conte? I've got it up here. Some of the things that he said. Yeah. I see selfish players. I see players that don't want to help each other, don't put their heart in. I tried to fix the spirit. I tried to fix the situation with words, with lots of situations, but it couldn't be done. I wanted to become a strong team, and if you want to be competitive, you have to want to win, fight, the desire, the fire that you need to have in your eyes, in your heart, and you have to show this in every moment, and they didn't. What I see out there is selfish players. I've never known a press conference like this. It's even crazier than Rafa Benitez's facts.
Yeah, once you draw out players, absolutely no chance to come back. They're the ones that make you your bread, and player power is a real thing. Yeah, Pac says speaking the truth. I don't disagree. With any of what he said, and he's not wrong at all. But you can't say that as the manager. Just like in any profession, you could be speaking cold hard facts about your employees as a manager, but you can't talk about this in that way because they won't work for you then. And especially in football, where in normal day-to-day life, if you're not performing, you're the first one who gets sacked is the employee. And not in football. It's the manager that gets looked at because it's easier to replace a manager than it is to replace players. Let's not forget, and when bringing it back to Arsenal game, when we weren't performing, it was the ones that Arsenal fans wanted to get rid of. It wasn't your Aubameyangs when they dropped off or your Mustafis. It was Arteta, guys. So, that's the way it is. So you can't talk about that. So he knew what he was doing. Strategic, though. It is a strategic thing. He knew he wanted that. He didn't want anything to do with Spurs anymore. It was a mistake for him to go there. From the start, Spurs fans thought, if we're getting Conte, we must be doing something. We must have serious plans because he's someone they know that, if it doesn't go right, he will always speak his truth and he will always leave and get his way eventually. As Mr. Westbird says here, Conte wanted the sack. He wanted out. Can't blame him. He'd want to be the manager of Spuds. And that kind of ties into their next manager, not Jose Enrique, that's the left back, Luis Enrique. He said that he basically hinted that he doesn't want Spurs by saying he wants to go somewhere that will make difficult decisions. I'm paraphrasing. Spurs don't do that. Spurs are quite comfortable in their box. The only difficult decisions that they make is something to do with the corporate side and adding an F1 track or something into their stadium or doing.
Whether they're going to get Beyonce or Ed Sheeran on next. Exactly.
Who they're going to get next and which NFL game they're going to host at that stadium. Like Spurs don't like to operate in that way. They're not operating in a way where they want to have a sustainable winning project. They tricked a lot of people by hiring a Jose Mourinho and a Conte, going for that instant success and not building upon a project that Pochettino's done. He laid the foundations for it. It went sour, but they didn't build it again. They went for the instant win, instant now, and it hasn't worked. And you can only do that when you've got a culture embedded in that club. Why Chelsea won so much under Roman Abramovich. And even they pulled out a lot of that with their new owners and trying to build a sustainable project right now. Spurs, shocking. And we spent a lot of time speaking on them.
Just quick, last thing on Spurs. Harry Kane goes in the summer. What the hell does their season look like next season?
I'm so. You know what? I think it's a good thing, bro. If Harry Kane goes, because of the money it'll bring, and I think that's why they went for a Conte Mourinho, though, bro. In that,
so my only concern with that is we've seen what Spurs do with the Bale money.
Yeah,
are they going to do the same thing again and splurge on the wrong players and buy too many?
They did splurge on the wrong players, but overall, they still did bring in Eriksen and they moved up further. They went better. They got better beyond Bale, so it doesn't fall upon that. I think the reason why they've gone to get Conte and Mourinho to win now was for their players like Son and Kane. If you get rid of them, go build a whole new different project. In the short term, you're in a messed up position, but overall, like you have scope to rejuvenate a lot of this squad. That defense, those individuals are shocking at the back, individually speaking. Still extremely light in midfield. There is talent out there. You can get a young striker in that might not be giving you the goals that Kane gives you straight away, but you can get Erasmus Højlund in there. Someone like that, a project to build upon. You have to make them tough decisions.
The buy-in needs to be there from board to fans and everything in between for that. And maybe that's another reason why they're not making the decision now, because there's a lot of PR and massaging that needs to happen right now, doesn't it? Everyone needs to be on board to know that if Spurs are going to do anything, everyone needs to buy into a project.
When you've got that level of player that is so integral to everything that happens at that club, I don't think it's ever healthy when you have one person. Relating back to us again, who was that? Arsene Wenger. When he makes all the decisions and everything's based on him, we wouldn't have signed players like Thomas Partey because we didn't deal with super agents or anything like that. We didn't do things and operate in this way because of Arsene Wenger. Yes, he was the man who brought us a lot of success, but when that person has that much power and control, it's not healthy. So you need to. So that's what I think they need. It would benefit them in the long run to get rid of Kane. They would stop getting these, one-off manager. Reason why Conte and Mourinho go to Spurs is because they get players like Harry Kane. They'd love to manage players like Harry Kane, but they realise, we're not going to get a proper team elsewhere at the end of the day. So yeah, but just we spent a lot of time on Spurs. Quickly on Everton. Sean Dyche, their issues definitely seems to be in front of goal, but on the injury front, it's not. We still have no return date for Calvert-Lewin. The latest on this, and this is the player that I think their season depends on if they are to stay up. I will be real. I don't think they do stay up without him at all, and that's a big shout because they have gained some decent results of late. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we're talking about integral with Kane. He is the man for Sean Dyche's Everton right now. And he hasn't trained with the group, but he's back on the grass, which is good. So he's making progress, which is good. No timescale. And Dyche says he doesn't do that anyway. Certainly, we are trying to get him back to full fitness or as close to. Everton, this home game, there's no such thing as a free hit anymore when you're in this part of the season. How important is this for Everton to try and get a result in this and for belief as well as the 3 points?
The belief part is huge. The intangibles of things that you can't quantify is massive in this. And obviously, Wolves picked up a win against Spurs at home a few weeks ago as well. And they are there for the taking. If you can keep Harry Kane quiet enough in a game, I watched all of that game as well, and it was a bit of a smash and grab from us. But Everton are capable of doing something similar in terms of being at home. That atmosphere can give you that extra 5-10%, and they are so very toothless if Kane doesn't get the ball in the back of the net that they are there potentially for the taking. And I think I don't know much about Stellini, but we saw what Ryan Mason did previously, and that's not great. So it's huge for Everton, right? A point in this game is a point against a team in the top four. It's important right now. You just need points when you're down there because you never know when that run of poor form from another team, be it a Palace, be it a Wolves, gets dragged back into that and you're closer to them. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's huge. I think the last thing to say on Everton is he is the quintessential Sean Dyche centre forward, a man that can hold the ball up, that's not scared of a header, not scared of pulling the trigger. I think him fully fit in most teams would be an upgrade because I do rate him highly in terms of what he can offer, but his availability is his worst ability. But under a manager like Sean Dyche that can really drag out the best of a quote-unquote target man, if he can, in the next 10 games, play 6 of them, he's going to probably get some points for Everton himself because I do rate him that highly. And Everton fans have got to be in it now. They have to put aside their annoyances at the board. They've got to put it because if they go down, we might not see them again for a while. I've been this team that are this historic team with a big fan base that get relegated, and you don't see them again for a decade. They don't want to be that team, and they might be in even more trouble because of, like you say, the financial problems they're under. So it is huge.
Massive. This is the FFP issues that have been placed upon them as well. I don't think it's going to affect them this season in terms of points, but for their future, it could, as Ed stressed how big this is. He's seen it. Wolves went all the way down to League One. They would double back-to-back relegation.
Yeah, back-to-back relegations, and we were awful. And we were paying Premier League wages in League One.
Yeah, Roger Johnson, I remember that. Yeah, and thanks to Folsom, the Folsom Group, they brought you back up in terms of their investments and what they did. But that's not guaranteed that will happen for Everton, who are planning to build a new stadium as well. The financial implications.
I don't think it's planning. It's well underway, isn't it?
Yeah, well underway. You're right. Yeah. Not planning. Sorry, got that wrong there. It's what meant to be done. I saw the news 24-25 season in the middle of that one. So yeah, in 2 seasons time. The only way they're going to manage to get that done and finished is with Premier League money, and attracting Premier League players as well in them. And yeah, this is huge for them, as Ed stressed out right there. So, Ed, prediction for this one. How do you see this going? Everton versus Spurs. Both teams need it.
Yeah, they do. And I'm trying not to speak with my heart and head here right now, because a win for Everton and all of a sudden Wolves are even more in the mire. But I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 here. I think Harry Kane's difficult to keep under wraps, and he's on the back of an important and very interesting, England break where he broke Wayne Rooney's record. So I think he's going to carry on. And I think if you see the last 5 meetings that they've got there, that it reads better for Spurs than it does for Everton. And with Dominic Calvert-Lewin not being available, will the young lad Sims be able to do much up front? I don't know. I don't rate Spurs' defence. So with all that said and done, I'm going to still give the Everton Goodison Park faithful a little nod, and I'm going 1-1. I'm saying they score a goal and Harry Kane scores a goal.
I think in this one, the first goal, I always say it once in every preview stream, first goal is crucial, because both sides, Everton don't score too many. If they concede, I think it's curtains for them, because I can't see him bouncing back and scoring, coming from behind to win. I think the best they'll be able to pull out is a draw if Spurs score first. But if Spurs score first, I can see the floodgates opening. Like, I see a lot of people, a lot of in the chat as well, talking about Harry Kane. I agree and disagree to an extent. I agree in terms of his, decision making in his career has been shocking, and he's been poorly managed in that one. And accountability, taking accountability for himself, he's been poor in that sense. But as a player, if guys, Spurs are in 4th position right now. Take away Harry Kane from in this current Spurs team. This current. They're nowhere near it. They're where Chelsea are at.
Yeah, welcome to mid-table.
Yeah, exactly. They're nowhere near it. He has been phenomenal this season. And if it wasn't for Haaland being the man that he is, Harry Kane would be on course to break the record for goals. He is ridiculous. Yeah, how good he has been for Spurs. But yeah, I think that Spurs are going to win it. I do, okay. I think they're gonna do it. Stellini just refreshing the squad in there. I think that will give them a boost. Players seem to grow tired of Antonio Conte, and this was before the press conference. Let's not forget what Richarlison said and spoke about as well. I think there was a lot of murmurs and rumours coming out of the Spurs camp, and when that happens, there's no smoke without fire. It was time to go, and that's probably why Conte blew his lid in that sense. But yeah, Spurs to win. I'm going to go 2-0, not 2-1. I can't see Everton scoring unless they score first. So 2-0 Spurs away from home Monday night. That'll be big for them.
I think the Harry Kane stuff's probably another stream for another day, right?
Yeah.
You can speak about that for just as long.
Yeah, for sure. We have spent a while on that on those guys, and I need to wash my mouth now because I said their name a bit too much. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat in terms of predictions. We've got Everton 2-0, says Pax. 2-1 Toffees against Spurs, says Mr. Wesbird. Spurs in turmoil yet again. They never learn. Small time, small-minded mentality as well. Shay's gone for goals. 3-3 draw right there. Everton 2-0, especially with Spud's new manager. Bounce, says Wilf. Newcastle in 5 years, if run correctly, knocking on that door for being the top 6 team. Spurs winning nothing and getting kicked out. Spurs, do you know what though? Spurs will make money though because of their stadium and what their stadium will attract on a sporting and a non-sporting event. For them to actually make that 2-1 Toffees. Forgot about Kane. 3-1 Everton, Spuds a -1, says PD. Maybe 1-1 Toffee Spurs match, Damari Gray and Sheepid Kane. Big up yourself, Rich, as well. And big up Patrick in the building too. I've got a big up yourself, man. I saw you in here. And everyone else that's locked in Big up yourself, my bro, the City fan, and we'll have to get talking soon, man, especially with that game coming up. And Wes Bird says draw 2. No one's going for a Spurs win, only me. But hey, you leave him on my own here, guys. Come on, stop it. I'm already getting these rumors about being a closet Spurs fan. But big up each and every one of you. And do as, who was it that said it? Wesbird again. Smash that like button, peeps, or caress it. Big up Mr. T and Edmin and all of you in the chat. Really appreciate you all for being locked in. Now, next game, mid-table matters. Chelsea versus Aston Villa. Big game in terms of, if either side are going to be trying to make a late run into Europe. Going into this one, I've got 2 games this week. Chelsea got, both of them. Villa have got Leicester and Chelsea have got Liverpool, but this is the first one going into it. Ed, Chelsea into the next round of the Champions League, things were looking like there was going to build a bit of momentum and have a strong end to the season. But that last-minute equaliser from previously spoken about Ellis Sims in that game really was a blow for them. And Aston Villa, man, before you touch on it, I just want to say about Aston Villa, 3rd in the form table since Emery's come. They've been phenomenal. They've been brilliant. He's done such a good job. Unai Emery and the Villa fans, Lee, I do apologise. Yeah, I still don't think it's going to work out, but I've got to give you praise when praise is due. Yeah, let me caveat that. So I'm not completely turning. But yeah, you guys have been phenomenal, like, in terms of what you've done. Ed don't want to do it because, he's a Wolves fan. But I think they've done really well. Look at them. Look at those results.
That's what I brought up. The last 5 meetings, only lost 1. And I think that might have been the FA Cup, I think, if we're going that far back. Yeah, so they are doing really, really well. And he's coming in, not just steadied the ship, he's improved it, hasn't he? And he's brought well. And,
they were the relegation candidates before he came in.
Yeah. No, he's done a fantastic job, as hard as that is for me to spit that out of my mouth. Their form is top notch.
Yeah, exactly. How do you see the game going? We'll talk about Chelsea as well. Do you think they're going to look to have a strong end to the season and with Graham Potter? And do you think Graham Potter's job is in jeopardy now? We're seeing the domino effect of sackings?
Potentially, because he might be the perfect Tottenham manager to do a project and spread a scouting network around. You could argue that Conte probably would have been better at Chelsea with all that money being spent and the ruthlessness that brings, and Potter would probably be much better in the Tottenham job building up, especially without Harry Kane. I'd imagine he would raid some of the same places that Brighton raided under him. So maybe a job swap would have been good for both of them there. But Todd Bowley keeps backing him, doesn't he, publicly, that it's a project. He's there for the long term. He gave him that ridiculously long contract for a reason. My only real concern is it was this one step too far for Potter too quickly. But the ship has been righted a little bit, in terms of, they did well in Europe. And if we bring up their form as well, same as Villa, only 1 loss in the last 5 games, making it through and keeping it going. I think his job is safe, because I think Todd Bowley might be slightly aware of the meme he's becoming in terms of splashing the cash, and maybe he doesn't want to take that any further by sacking a manager and bringing someone in. And the same problem for Spurs will be there for Chelsea. Who's out there that's going to want the job? Who's out there that's better? I think that's always the first thing I think of when managers are being rumoured to being sacked, is who's coming in to replace them. The only time I've ever done that in my Wolves supporting life was with Bruno Lage, because I couldn't stand him. Now, he's the first person I've ever wanted sacked when I didn't care who came in next. I just wanted him out of my club. But most of the time, you have to try and be pragmatic and think who's going to come in to be better. And I don't think there's many better coaches out there in Potter, but whether Chelsea need a manager rather than a coach is yet to be seen.
Good point. Good point right there. And that's a great way to talk about Chelsea. Do they need a coach with the players that they've got? They just need or do they need a manager? Someone like a Carlo, like a Zinedine Zidane, who just puts them in together. Will make sure that you know that you're working well and you're cohesive, because the quality should take you over potentially. So yeah, good shout right there. Do you know what? I just had a look at the injury list. Yeah, my word, this international break has really done over a lot of teams. Chelsea's injury list is ridiculous. Of course, we still got no Thiago Silva until a couple of weeks time, 2 weeks. So left for Thiago Silva. Havertz had an illness. Aspilicueta should be back though. Mason Mount, he was injured before it, and yeah, he has an injury in his groin area, which is going to be a problem in getting that healed. He might have to deal with that for the rest of the season and manage that. Those hamstrings and groins, people, you can't just recover from them like that. So yeah, it might be something that he has to manage. Sterling's been injured also. You know, Aubameyang had a back injury. Fofana picked up another injury before the international break. Reece James picked up another hamstring injury. Unsure whether he's going to be happy yet or fit, happy to play. There's been quite a few players out for them, as well as the long-term injuries that they've had there. But good news for Villa is Boubacar Kamara should be back. Their injury list not as bad. Matty Cash is injured though. He's picked up a thigh injury and he's not expected to be back until mid-April time. So you know what? In that case, I'll go first because I think you went first in the first two, right? I think Villa are going to nick a draw here. I think that'll be massive for them. Chelsea don't really score too many goals either. They don't concede too many, but their issue is definitely putting the ball in the back of the net. I think Villa are going to be able to go out there and nick a draw. The form that Ollie Watkins has been in since Emery's arrived, what a player he's been and what an asset he's been to Aston Villa. I think that the midfield has really shored up a bit more with Emery returning. The defence, I think that's the next stage that Emery will still want to try and build in terms of playing out from the back and looking like it is going to be an Emery team, like he does how he had at Villarreal, Sevilla, and whatnot. But yeah, I think they're going to nick a draw here against Chelsea. I'm going for a 1-1. What's your prediction here?
I'm going for Villa to nick the win.
Ooh,
Ollie Watkins 1-0. Chelsea don't score goals. That injury list doesn't sound too great for Chelsea. I think the form is similar, like we brought up. So I'm going an Emery away from home, shuts up shop, and hits them on the break. And this Chelsea team they're where they are for a reason, and their players are all over the place, and they're up and down like their form's showing them. So I'm saying Villa leapfrog them this weekend, and take the 10th spot from them.
Wow, that would be huge for Aston Villa if they could do so, knocking on those doors of European football. If they can get into it, looking like Conference League, given how tight it is outside there as well, but definitely could be within a shout there. Paxton's gone for a 1-1 draw in this one too, as well. Rich did go for a 2-1 Spurs win in the previous game also. So yeah, there was a Spurs win right there. Thank you, Rich. Yep. Not just me left to my own. Shay's gone for a 1-0 Chelsea win. Mr. Westbird's gone for a 2-0 Chelsea win here. Chelsea versus Villa 1-1. Even saying that result makes me want to throw up.
Sames with Villa winning.
Yeah, exactly. Ed shares that with you. You just back Villa to win. I think maybe 1-1-2 says Moss, Watkins, and Havertz with the goals. But Westbird says I think Chelsea win also. So yeah, I think that you're the only one that's gone for the Villa win in this one. So yeah, hey, I was a lone ranger in the last game, so are you for now. But yes, let's move on now into the next game. I'm
loving the chat, by the way, because I'm being called a ginger action man now. I don't quite know what's happened. There's so many people. There's so many people in. It's brilliant as well. We've had double figures all the way through. But we're in a relegation 6-pointer now too. We're going to West Ham versus
Southampton. Massive game. Again, I'm repeating myself, people. Sound like a broken record, but this one is huge for David Moyes in this sense. And I'm surprised he's still there. I really am. I'm not gonna lie. I thought they would have pulled the trigger earlier. In this sense, it's been great for him overall since his return. He wasn't great in his initial spell, which is why they got rid of him. But him coming in, we've seen a West Ham side taken to its absolute limits. Now there's been a few more exotic players, I'll say, eccentric players. David Moyes hasn't been able to fit them in and adapt his style and his game to really get the likes of Paqueta and Scamacca to perform at their best. And you can also say for the players as well, not just David Moyes, but they've not really have come in and adapted to his style. West Ham, they tried to take that leap, but it's not worked and they've ended up regressing. Ed, West South, that spoke a bit about West Ham. What's your thoughts on their situation? And Southampton's bit of resurgency as well.
Yeah, I think I just quickly brought up their form. That doesn't read that badly for a team that low down in the league for so long. 2 draws, just 2 losses and the 1 win. So, in those 5 games, they've managed to still pick up, 5 points. It's not bad for a team down there. There has been a slight resurgence. And I think there was an issue, obviously, wasn't there, with Nathan Jones. He came in and had an ego the size of, Jupiter, and didn't really have it to back it up.
Nothing to back it up, yeah.
No, but Southampton, they're a strange team because they seem to just be there every season and offer nothing. And teams like that eventually get found out, don't they? Again, without trying to always make it about our own teams, I watched my team do that after our 3rd season back under Mick McCarthy. We ended up just not improving, not buying anybody, not doing anything, and then you slip down the table till you find out that you're no longer a Premier League team. And Southampton, they're still so up and down. Obviously, 17 losses doesn't read well, but the one thing they have been able to do is score some important goals in recent weeks. Their goal scoring's so bad that it's close to Wolves'. So and Palace's, who have got the worst, I think, along with Everton and Forest. But recently, they've been able to pick up some vital points. But I think in this game, I think I'll go first. I am going to back West Ham to win at home in this one, but I think it's going to be a tight 1-0. I don't see this being a great game for the, for the neutral in terms of excitement, but it's going to be one of those ones for the purists where it's going to be who doesn't want to lose. And I think West Ham need to pick up some points soon before they go back into Europe as well, don't they, soon? Yeah. And we've seen West Ham struggle when they've had to do the Thursday night, Sunday games before in their history under David Moyes, and I think we're seeing that this year. And interesting how much money they spent on some of their players for where they are now as well. I think that's going slightly under the radar because of the craziness that Forest have done, for example, and the amount of players they brought in. I think we are glossing over maybe some of the flops that they've been this year with Paqueta and Scamacca, and how they're still heavily reliant on a lot of the players that they've had for quite a while under Moyes.
And Souček's levels dropped off also massively. Bowen,
I think
not been
I did wonder last year whether Souček was having a meet you year, and it just was everything he touched. Everything he touched turned to goal. But I'm going for a 1-0 West Ham win. Obviously, from a selfish point of view, from a Wolves point of view, a draw here is perfect because it just means their status quo remains the same.
Yeah, he's 18th. West Ham sitting in 18th. They're in that relegation zone as it stands. Southampton, rock bottom. But there's only, I don't know, the points that separates them and Crystal Palace, it's 4 points and 12. So this could be, the table could look completely different by, forget the weekend, imagine what the table could look like by just next week, Friday.
Yeah, it's like the championship. It's like the championship this year, this Premier League. There is barely, a cigarette paper between so many teams. A couple of bad results, for Crystal Palace, Wolves, and we're not just in it. We're also at the bottom again. It's nuts. I've never known a Premier League like this. Never known a Premier League like this.
Exactly that there. In terms of this question, Paqueta is not out injured as it stands, unless something else may come. But no, he's not injured. He should be fit and available. The only injuries, the key injuries, is that Mikel Antonio had a calf injury, but it's touch and go whether he's going to be fit. Big losses for Southampton were before the international break was Mohamed Salisu and Shea Adams. He picked up an injury, but they're touch and go whether they're going to be fit for this one. Also, you've gone for a West Ham win. I'm going for a draw in this one. James Ward-Prowse to do it. He's he's the reason why they've still got a chance. He's been phenomenal, right? And for Southampton, do you think he makes a move in the summer? Either way,
I
think
think
he signed that new deal when he could have went to Villa. I thought
all the stuff that people have said about Kane, ratchet it down to Southampton's level, and we've got the exact same with James Ward-Prowse. At some point, if he wants to prove he's more than just a Southampton player, then he needs to move away and prove that he can do it.
Exactly. So will be interesting. Southampton, I do think they'll be able to pick up a draw, though. I'm going to go for a 1-1 in this one here. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Paxton says 1-0 West Ham against Deadhampton. They're not quite dead yet, man. They're not quite. Shay goes for a 3-0 West Ham win. 1-0 win, says Mr. Westbird for Southampton. I mean, not Southampton, West Ham also. And we've got a 3-1 West. Guys in the chat, you might be right, yeah. But I don't know, man. West Ham aren't that same team. I think that 4-0 against Forest has kind of thrown people a little bit. And
that was a crazy, 20 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
It all happened very, very quickly.
And Forest are the worst away side in the Premier League as well with their results. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't see it with West Ham. Although Danny Ings has scored a few whilst he's been there. JWPT money. Why are you using bad language in front of Ed? Exactly. I should abbreviate his name. I'm sorry. And Paxton staying wrong and strong. I'm joking. Now he's saying Deadhampton or Deadhampton. So,
I think for Paxton, he's saying Deadhampton because of what I said about the fact that they just are always there doing nothing rather than they're dead and buried.
Oh yeah, fair enough. But I don't know. I think it might be a bit of a, when they played that 0-0 draw. I think that's what
true.
Might be there as well. Casemiro's thingy suspension in there. But move on now into the next game, which is for Europe knocking on the door. Brighton and Hove Albion versus Brentford. Bro, Brighton, what a season. The home side have had. What a season Brentford have had also. That loss to Everton threw a spanner in the works because of their unbeaten run. This game is, for the football hipsters, I'll say, perfect. In the quality that both teams play at, some of the individual players that both teams have. Tony's still there. We know with his band lurking. Mitoma. We'll be here all day talking about Brighton's individuals because honestly, they are that good. A lot of their individuals in Mitoma, McAllister, Caicedo, Evan Ferguson are all top players that could be in any top 6 club right now. Man, I'm not. I think this is going to be an entertaining one, a match of the day. I do think this is going to be a match of the day one where we're looking back at it and saying, this is going to be big. Brighton need a win. Need this win for their European, for their Champions League hopes. I do think they will qualify for Europe. I do think they will be in there. But if Brentford, surely might have to say something to say about that. But look at this stat right here that Ed just brought up. Look at the last 5 games: 1 draw and 4 wins for Brighton, who are also in the semi-final of the FA Cup. What a season and what a job De Zerbi has done. And if it wasn't for Mikel Arteta being top of the league, you'd say he's a contender, him and Eddie Howe, for getting manager of the season as well. So yeah. What's your thoughts on both sides going into this one, bro?
Yeah, I think you're spot on in terms of it is one for the football hipsters, isn't it? With these 2 teams that are where they are in the league. Don't sleep on the fact that Brighton do have those 3 games in hand. Obviously, doesn't mean there's 3 wins in hand, but their form, like you've just seen on screen, shows that they could at least go unbeaten and that maybe pick up 4 or 5 points, 6 points out of that maybe. So that drastically changes, the table and how it would set out. But yeah, it's my FPL advice starts and ends here. By the way, Ivan Toney's one booking away from being banned for 2 games. He's on 9 bookings. So if he picks up his 10th and it's a double game week, if you captain here and he picks up a yellow card, he's out for the next game. So he only becomes a single game week player. So bear that in mind if you're thinking of captaining Toney. It's a potential high risk strategy. But what a season both teams have had. Brentford still pound for pound being an amazing football club, being very well run, and therefore not too bad either, with only the 1 loss in the last 5 as well. But Brighton's individuals, like you said, we can talk about all day. But with their resurgence after this crazy season that they've had, where they currently sit 7th, and people are legitimately talking about not just Europe but Champions League, also came when they changed manager. Let's not forget, De Zerbi came in after a few games into the season and had to make his own tweaks and changes. He's had a fantastic season as well. And it's with that in mind that I'm going to go, and I'll go first too, because you went first on the last one, for a Brighton win. But I'm going to go for goals in this game. I'm going to go 4-2 Brighton.
Oh, we got 4-2 in the chat as well.
Have we?
Yeah, we do. Wes Birds went for a 4-2 Brighton win. She did predict goals, so that's nice to see. She says thinks it could be a high game, went for 1-1, but was joking. I went for a 4-2 Brighton win. I think Brighton are going to win this as well, guys. Yeah, match of the day will be a spectacular one. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Brighton win. I do think Brentford will manage to score in this game, because Brighton aren't the strongest defensively, but the big asset that they have is they can score goals out of anywhere. They can pull it. I'm surprised Sonny Marsh didn't get a call up for England, by the way, with his form. Me and Ed were having private conversations prior to the World Cup, and he was kind of one that I'd say was on the fringes then. Yeah. And the level that he's performed at going further on into the season, it's been amazing. He's had his best goal scoring season in his career, and he's a real problem, Solly March. Maybe someone to keep an eye out for for clubs in and around that position. Maybe a Newcastle if they want to. Those clubs that are just on the edge of breaking into those areas. Brighton are there, so they may not even want to leave. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Brighton are going to do in this second half of the season. And I do want them to kick it off with a win. That's why I've gone for a 3-1 there. Let's see what you guys and girls are saying in the chat right now. So we've got a 2-0 Brighton win. Quality outfit, says Mr. Wesbird. 4-3 Brighton. So he's one up you there, Paxton, because he's backing his boy Ivan Toney to score a hat trick right there. That'll be great for FPL. And if he doesn't get a yellow card as well. 4-3 Brentford. I mean, you've been on 1-up again. Wow, but that's Brentford with a win, winning 4-3 away from home. Guys, I hope that, I take your predictions being right as well as yours, bro, because, that means I was going to be right with the match of the day shout. Help me, I'm going with Wes Burr's prediction 4-2. There's another one, and there's another 4-2 right here. Would be good for FPL. Ivan Toney brace, Mitoma brace, and March brace there. So we know who King's going for. Big up my brother King each and every time, by the way.
Hope the family are good, King.
Yeah, exactly. Hope you're keeping good. Hope the family are well too. And yeah, man, missing you, bro. Miss you. But yeah, great to see those predictions right there. And yeah, Mitoma and Toney, please. I was meant to put March in, and I'm glad he didn't get awarded that goal against Leeds. I'm glad. Because I didn't put him in the end. Teammate me a mod. I need to block Wilf, lad. I will make you a mod as well, but you can't block Wilf. You can't block. I think he's a mod as well, so I don't think mods have that power to block each other. But yeah, you should have said that. Now he's going to go ahead and block you. But yeah, let's go into the next game that we've got here, and it is Ed's team away from home in an East versus West Midlands derby. Bro, take us away with this one first, with Wolves going into this one.
Yeah, the most emotional team in the league in Wolves, getting people sent off and they didn't even come on the... Not that many people would have him in FPL, but apparently Mateus Nunes was -3 last week. So if you did have him in your team, he never played and got sent off and lost you 3 points. So I don't think that's ever happened before either in FPL history. So Wolves have got something to play for at least this year.
He got overturned as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it's got over. He just got a bit angry. It was nothing, and the way it was written up in the report means it could have been overturned because the referee picked him out of several players that were outraged at what was a very, very ridiculous decision by Adama Traore to stop trying when he had his shirt pulled a little bit, which cost us the 4th goal. So I think it was a foul, but it's also one of those that you don't need to stop. It's 3-2 at that point, and we've got like 2 attacks left in us. Man up and get the ball in the box. So it's another one of those crazy games with everything on it, right? There's 1 point between us. Forest have got a game in hand on us. I think they played twice this week, I think they're one of the teams that played twice. Anything less than picking up a point here drags Wolves well and truly back into it. And this game, for some weird reason, has got some needle on it. In the first game,
in the Carabao Cup. Yeah.
In the first game, let's not forget where we had the Twitter spat when Forest put out that they, chopping down whatever, they like to beat Wolves, and then Wolves did a tweet where they chopped down the tree and all that kind of stuff and called them Notts Forest. So, and then the Carabao Cup where we were, one of our 4 apologies from PGMOL came this season. When
you had 4?
Yeah, we've had 4.
Oh, yeah, that's double more than we've
had two in the league, 1 in the League Cup and 1 in the FA Cup for the debacle at
the Liverpool one.
Liverpool. Yeah. So it's interesting, this game. There's a lot of Wolves fans that are saying it's a mustn't lose game rather than a must win game. So a point, like I talked about earlier, just keeps that momentum going, picking up a point. A win away at Nottingham Forest would be incredible. I think a win is pretty much us safe if the results with everyone playing each other kind of goes the way it could do. But it's still far too early to say that right now. And Wolves, the only other thing I'd maybe touch on with Wolves is they need to get a handle on their emotions, because we are playing so emotionally right now with all of these. The refs don't like us. We have these things going against us. We have the Nick Pope thing that happened a couple of weeks ago. If they don't get a handle on it, we are going to be not only dragged into it, I think we will suffer because of it and really, really get stuck in the mire with it as well. So, yeah, this one could be a really interesting game, because I don't see this game ending with 11 players on both sides. The needle is strong. The needle is strong in this game.
Yeah, it is, man. And just a quick word on Nottingham Forest. They have tended to be stronger when they have played at home this season. Brennan Johnson being their star man, scoring plenty of big goals for them. Former Wolves man in Morgan Gibbs-White, he's gonna have a big. Didn't he do that celebration? Did he cup his hands?
Yeah. It did. It didn't end well. It didn't end well for Morgan Gibbs-White. He was scapegoated an awful lot by Wolves fans who weren't happy with the fact that, a bit like Jesse Lingard, he was just enjoying life, and a lot of Wolves fans took umbrage with that, and I don't get it. I don't get why these young men can't enjoy the money they earn. I don't get that again. Maybe that's something for another stream. As long as they're not doing anything illegal or things they shouldn't do, enjoy your life. Yeah.
It's true. I really like Morgan Gibbs-White. I think he's been quality.
He's far too good to be at Nottingham Forest.
He's tremendous football. And once again, if he can stay in the Premier League and build upon that, he's going to be knocking on the England door as well. He scored a goal, that penalty for the under-21s in midweek in their defeat against Croatia, I believe. And we went to an England-Croatia under-21s game as well. Once upon a time, when we saw a certain Harry Kane score. Although he looked terrible.
Wasn't Sodo Berahino playing as well and looked better than Harry Kane back then?
Much better than Harry Kane back then. Yeah. But have a look at the careers of both of them now. But yeah, Forest could cause Wolves a problem at home. They tend to draw games at home a lot, though. So that's gone in for my prediction. And that's why I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Sitting on the fence, got splinters right there. But Ed, just before we give your prediction, I just want to ask you on this. I've already given mine, which is dangerous, and I shouldn't have. I should have asked you this question first. But some injury news. What's the latest you've heard on, Hugo Bueno, Nelson Semedo, is Boubacar Traore, those three first?
So Boubacar Traore's back. Nelson Semedo shouldn't play as well. Hugo Bueno, I don't think it's this week. I don't think he's back. But Boubacar Traore is important because that's a little bit more steel in the midfield that we've been severely lacking. I think if he was to play with Lamina and Neves, that's a midfield three that would trouble any team sort of below top 5, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And those guys are going to be good for you defensively. That's in really boosting you in the midfield and the wing back, full back areas there. What about, I know you won't have Johnny because of his red card, but what about Hwang? Any updates you've heard on Hwang?
He's always injured. Whatever you said for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, replace it for Hwang Ki-chan. He comes in, he scores a goal and gets injured again. That's just what happens. I think our forward line is going to be full of wingers like it normally is. Jimenez will play. Jimenez, a bit like Ben White in FPL, they're going to play the rest of the season because they're the only ones available in that position. Yeah, I understand. Would you take him at Arsenal? By him, if you mean Hugo Bueno, absolutely. Then definitely. If you do mean someone else, let me know. But that's one player I take from Wolves, and Ed's heard me singing his praises from before. I saw him up against Saka, locked him off. And I'm like, I haven't seen many players do that to Saka this season. And Bueno, the last time I watched Wolves on TV was against Fulham. Hugo Bueno got man of the match. And I was having a little word with Jakey, who, I had to give him a footballing lesson for Hugo Bueno. Excellent player. How impressed have you been with him this season before we get into it? He's the best thing to come out of that awful PE teacher moment we had with Steve Davis taking over the 9 games. Is the fact that he played some of the youngsters. But Hugo Bueno, he's already come in and outshone Aït-Nouri, who are really rated to. So I think both of those are linked with moves away, as well as Neves over the summer, with PSG are circling over Aït-Nouri because he's French, of course, so he helps their quota. And there are, I think any team in the Premier League would do well to get Hugo Bueno as either first choice or second choice left wing back or left back. He can play left back. He's not going to let you down defensively. He's brilliant.
That's it, man. Like that. When you told me about him, he was actually a midfielder. It's basically Zinchenko 2.0, guys. Literally, he'd be perfect for Arteta, Spanish-speaking system. That's what I want, man. So Spanish-speaking manager. So I'd take him if that's the one. But you meant Gibbs White. We're a bit
raw.
We've got too many attacking midfield.
Yeah,
we've got a bit too many in there, and I don't think he'd get enough game time to be in there. But if we was to get rid of Tierney, get me Hugo Bueno in right now. Yeah, but Fresneda says Moss, but he's a right back. That's the right side. We need to sort the left if Tierney does go as well. But what's your prediction for this game here, bro?
I'm going to back my boys to win 1-0. I have to.
1-0 Wolves. Yeah, you have to.
I think because I was going to go 1-1, so because that was gone, I'm going to have to go.
I'm glad I nicked it from you. If it does end 1-1, then yes, I'll remember this one. But Pax, he's gone for a 9-0, and he's literally said, if you don't win this week, I'm not backing Wolves again.
I've been backing them for 38 years, Paxton. I'm wondering why I've done it, so I get it.
Exactly. We've got 3-1 Forest as well. We've got 1-0 Wolves, says Mr. Westbird. We've got 2-1 Wolves, 2-1 Forest, says Moss, Brennan Johnson, and Dennis with Raul scoring as well. 2-1 Wolves, that one's for you, Ginger Action Man, says Wilf. Tricky game to predict, but Forest win perhaps.
I'm getting trolled by Wilf on my actual phone as well as on here now. He's just sent a picture to me of just an action man with a ginger beard. So I'm getting it from all angles.
Oh, well, have a feeling Forest will struggle to keep out of the bottom 3 at the end of the season as the end of the season approaches. Yeah, a lot of people have gone for that as well. Ed is Gam, Ginger Action Man. Love that right there. And a 2-2 Wolves, says King, as we now move on into the next game, which is another relegation one, Palace versus Leicester. Guys, because we're struggling for time, we're just going to fire through these a little bit more now. So make sure you get your predictions on the goal. Palace, Roy Hodgson being at Chris, going back. What's your thoughts on that there, bro?
I think we touched on it last preview show. It's
yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. But it's a panic, isn't it? It's a panic because they've seen maybe the fixtures coming up and think that they need a steady hand on the tiller to sort of get them out of this problem. I think they are going to sink, and I think they're going to be very near the bottom by the end of it. I don't see. We know the only thing to say on Palace is Zaha and Hodgson. They're water and oil. They don't get on, and Palace. Genuine only hope at the minute seems to be a motivated Wilfried Zaha, and I've watched him the last couple of weeks, and I texted you about it. He seems completely disinterested. He looks like he's already gone, and I don't see how Roy the boy gets anything out of him when we know historically that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's true. It's a good point, and it's a different Zaha that we're seeing now, someone who is looking for their next move. So I think it's a good point you've raised right there. Leicester, my words, they were in it for a lot of the season to begin with in the first half in that relegation zone, got themselves out of it, and now they're right back in it again. Just epitomizes this crazy season that we've seen from Leicester. It's weird because Leicester, out of the teams down there, they seem like they can score goals. Goals doesn't seem like their issue. Harvey Barnes has scored quite a few goals this season. James Maddison's had a really good season individually. Iheanacho, probably one of the most streaky strikers in the Premier League, scores in batches. But yeah, they're just still down there. The defense has been poor. That Wout Fass is shocking. Midfield, they can't get the likes of Ndidi fit. There's no stability in there. Tielemans has dropped off by a mile, but I do think the system has also been a big problem for him. But Brendan Rodgers, it's look at them. Look at that. Look at those results right there. One draw in 5 games, and
it's the same for both teams on this. So
this is last on match of the day for sure. But yeah, what who do you think's taking the 3 points here though, bro? If there is going to be someone taking it.
I think if anyone's going to take it, it's going to be Palace. I think that the 2 worst goalkeepers I've seen for a long time are both at Leicester, in Danny Ward and Everson. So, see, this is what I mean. This is crazy. And Danny Ward potentially was dropped, and he's going to remain dropped. And if you haven't seen it, check out that positioning I told you about of Everson in the FA Cup when he stands near the post on a shot from the middle of the goal. Makes absolutely no sense. It's the worst position I've ever seen from a top-level goalkeeper. I'm going to back Selhurst Park to drag out a goal in this game. I'm going to go 1-0, and Roy the boy stinks up the place and out coaches Brendan Rodgers, who I'm going to consistently say I don't rate.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to say 1-0 Palace. I think Palace are going to do it.
That's what I just said.
Oh, I thought you said. Sorry. Sorry, I thought you said 1-0 Leicester. Oh yeah,
no.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Palace.
He's changed it.
2-1 Palace. Yeah, I gotta go different, man. I got to try and win.
Palace scoring 2.
Yeah. Leicester can't stop conceding.
True.
That's their issue. Palace are gonna grind out results, but not quite. Yeah, I do think they are gonna grind them out. Pax. I do think that they will eventually. Even when I watch them against us, I still think they do have a bit too much to go down. I think there are 3 worse teams than them, personally. And Leicester, I don't think they will go down either because they can just score enough goals. They can score their way out of it in these relegation 6-pointer games. But yeah, it's not looking good, and they need to bounce back quickly for Brendan Rodgers. But yeah, Shay's gone for a 1-0 Leicester win right there. You guys in the chat are killing me. Like, look at this, snitching on Wesbird right here. To be honest, the action man pick was sent by Wesbird. I was just the messenger, and look at that snitching. It goes over here. Surely nobody'd think I'd do that. I'm angelic. Hey Ed, the decision's with you. Who's the guilty one? Wilf or is it Wes?
It's always Wilf.
Oh, there you go. And King's there back. He's supporting right there. Wilf is a snitched. 1-0 Palace. Roy Hodgson, new manager bounce. Boring as Roy. 2-2 draw, says Wesbird. Bournemouth versus Fulham. Massive for Bournemouth. Fulham, the only one of the other teams that don't really seem to have anything to play for now. How do you see this game going, bro?
I think Bournemouth would have been buoyed by the fact that Fulham imploded against Man United last weekend. They're without Mitrovic, I'd imagine, for the foreseeable, right? And will Silva also be off?
3 games, I believe. 3 games. For
so it was, just hands off the ref, stupid. And we've seen what Fulham have been like without the Mitrovic focal point. He makes Willian better. He makes Pereira better. Manuel Solomon can only curl shots in for so long before it has to stop. But Bournemouth, Fulham, I see this to go through it quickly. Last on match of the day, I think this one's going to be, unless it's the Sunday game, and I'm going to go 0-0. Neither of them score. Both of them pick up a point that doesn't really help their season, but doesn't hinder it either.
1-0 Bournemouth, doing it. Philip Billing again. He's going to do it. They picked up that win against Liverpool last game, and we kind of spoke about him in that preview show as well. We do know ball, guys. I know some of you think that we don't, but we do, because Philip Billing, one of the underrated players for me.
You don't get 12 people locked in at 12:30 on a Thursday.
Exactly. Appreciate you guys. I really do. But hey, unless they're just here to watch us fail miserably, maybe. So big up that each.
Have you, right?
Exactly. We'll take it. But I think Bournemouth are going to win 1-0. Philip Billing with that goal. Let's see what you guys and girls are saying in the chat. You still got your predictions coming in for the Leicester game. 2-1 Leicester, says King, and then a 2-2 draw in this game. So going with the same results but different scoreline as Ed there. Goals, so that might not be last on match of the day if that is the outcome. Bournemouth 1, Fulham 1, same as Ed in terms of the result. Bournemouth win. Wesbird, we're on the same page right now. So yeah, it is Will's fault now. I agree with you there. 1-1 draw for the Palace Leicester game also. And look, we've upset Wilf now. He says, what the hell? Just because I got previous, you think I'm unredeemable? Wow. Oh, wow. But Perlo, take aside, mostly decent ball knowledge. Big up yourself, right?
He's never going to live that down, is he? He's never going to let
those were the games for the week. No, he's not. Absolutely not. Those were the games for the weekend. Now, guys, we're going to rattle through these ones right here. The Chelsea versus Liverpool game. Get yours ready, people. Ooh. I'm going to go with a draw. I can't pick a winner. I think this game tends to end in a draw as well. No, that's the Chelsea Man United game. Nah, this one's usually a goal fest. Nah, draw 2-2. I've gone for a goal fest draw.
I don't think Chelsea and goal fest go together at the moment, do they? Either.
Liverpool concede.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 to Liverpool. 2-1 to Liverpool.
Oh, what I want. This is all I want from Chelsea. Just run their absolute socks off against Liverpool. Make Liverpool pull hamstrings left, right, and centre. So that when we roll up to Anfield next week,
they're all feeling it.
Yeah, exactly. When 60 minutes, they can't run anymore, please. But they tend to do that in the very first minute, Liverpool nowadays. But next, let's see predictions before we get into the next one. 3-3 draw, says Shay. 1-0 Liverpool. Says 1-0 Chelsea. Sorry, says Paxton. Sorry, that now I need to wash my mouth for your sake, Paxton, for saying that. But Shay did go for a 2-2 draw in this one, actually. Chelsea, and that's also what Wesbird's gone for, and Chelsea 1-1. So yeah, only Paxton and Ed have gone for winners in this one.
Yeah.
Man United versus Brentford. Man United to win this one for me. Yeah, I'm backing Brentford to lose 2 games in a row. Doesn't really happen this regularly. But your turn to go with the numbers first. Actually, I'll let you go.
Yeah,
first.
I'm gonna go 3-1 for this one to Man United.
Phew. You never went with mine. I'm going 2-1 Man United in this one here. Tony, obviously, to score for Brentford. But yeah, Man United just to edge it and get back on the winning run. We'll get back on winning form in the Premier League, I think, here. What we got here, 3-1 Brentford, says Shay. 2-1 Man United, says Paxton. Man United win, says Mr. Westbird. 2-1 Man United, says Wilf. Can't believe I'm going to say this, but Manx win. Easy win. Right there, Moss has gone for a 2-1 Liverpool as well. Maybe Gakpo, Diaz, and Felix to score for Chelsea. He's been one of their good signings. Give him credit for that there. West Ham, Newcastle. You go first here, bro, as well. I think I went first twice.
I've gone for a Newcastle 2-0 win. Just a better team. Just a better team.
1-0 Newcastle win. Don't really score too many, Newcastle. So I'm going to go for them to do it. And I think with West Ham, their issue is they don't concede too many either. So 1-0. Yeah, Newcastle win. Right there. Leeds versus Forest. My word, another 6-pointer.
Yep.
Leeds win 3-1. Forest, worst away team in the Premier League, 3-1. Well, Paxton's gone for a 6-0 Newcastle win. Wow, that's huge. And we've got a 1-1 for West Ham, Newcastle there. And Newcastle away win 2-1. 3-1 Leeds. What about you, bro?
Yeah, I've gone for a 1-1 in this one. I think it's just a couple of poor teams. Picking up a draw each. No, it's not good. It's not good for either team, is it?
Nah, man. Yeah, I thought you'd expect them to try and pick up a bit of momentum after beating you away from home. I think they're going to do it. 2-3-1 Leeds. But Paxton's gone for a 0-0 draw in this one. Leeds win, says Westbird. Mr. Westbird says Leeds win 2, and he says 2-0 win. Leeds 1-1 draw, says Shay. 3-0 Newcastle win, says Wilf for that one also. And is it we've got 2 more? Yep. Bournemouth versus Brighton. Brighton 3-1 win right there as well. That's another one I've gone for away from home. If they do win this game and they do win the Brentford one, yeah, problems for those in the top 4. Problems for Spurs in particular. But yeah, what's your prediction for this one, my bro?
I went 3-0 to Brighton, and I almost wrote 4. But yeah, 3-0.
Just like Paxton did there with a 4-1 Brighton win. Mr. Wedsbird says, yeah, Leeds to bounce back after being slaughtered by Arsenal. I hope so. I hope that is right. I'll take that. Leeds after losing to the Gunners 2-1 win, says Moss. 4-0 Brighton, says Shay. Brighton win, says Mr. Wedsbird. 2-1 Forest, says Wilf. 3-0 Brighton. 3-1 Brighton, says Wedsbird. Great minds think alike, in my humble but accurate opinion. And Leicester versus Aston Villa.
Finishing on the Dion Dublin derby.
What's your?
I've gone for a Villa 1-0. Villa 1-0 to put Leicester properly in the mud.
Villa are a good away side as well, 2-1 Villa. They managed to pick up a good win against Everton. And a brilliant performance for Aston Villa too.
And let the record show that I predicted Villa to win 2 games out of 2.
Wash your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go and have a shower now.
I know. Put with Imperial level in your mouth. Okay. There you go. But yes, guys, we have finished all the predictions. Let's see what you are saying. 2-1 Leicester. Paxton's always going to back his local team in that one there. 2-0 Brighton, says King. We've got 1-0 Leicester, says Shay. Leicester and Villa draw. 2-1 Villa, 2-1 Villa, 2-0 Villa. From Mr. Westbird, King, Mrs. Westbird, and Will right there. Guys, 2 hours and 2 minutes. What a stream. We came back. We knew it was going to be a long one. Me and Ed spoke about this for literally probably the past few days. Looking forward to it. It's great to have you back and really do appreciate you all, everyone. Go and have a cold shower, Ed, aka Ginger Action Man. So yeah, people,
I think I know what my Christmas present's going to be this year now.
Oh, TTF. We're going to have to get something sorted. Yeah, we're going to get this. Let's hopefully forget by then. Christmas is still a while away, but it will come quicker because I can't believe we're 4 months into the year already, guys. crazy. But make sure you do like and subscribe, people. Listen to Paxton right there. It does help us a lot if you guys just dropping that like button, drop in the comments afterwards with your predictions. And as Ed always says, can you beat Paxton? Probably not. But, you know, try to with the predictions. I'm sure he's got them locked and loaded, ready to go already, people. So, yeah, now really do appreciate you all, though, guys. You are the reason why we do smile a lot when we're talking about the football, the jokes that you bring in here, you know, the conversations. It's great to have you back. And, guys, we've got the last push for the end of the season. So many important games to come. Guys, please smash that like button and subscribe. And yeah, so the dream can come true where I can do this for a living. So that would be great as well. So big up yourselves, people. King says big up for this wonderful show. Awesome comeback, lads. But let's not call it a comeback. Thanks for the fabulous show, guys. Really appreciate your time. Take care, everyone. Love you all.
No, we appreciate your time. You've listened to us for 2 and a bit hours. Exactly. It's crazy.
Do you know what? I can't even listen to myself for that long. So I don't know how you guys do it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I really do appreciate you. Mr. Westbird says, great show. Cheers, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Come on, you Gunners. T, need to make a thumbnail where Ed wears a Superman outfit and Action Man. Yeah, I will get that sorted. King, I'll use my Photoshop skills for you right there. We'll get that sorted. Smash the like button on the way out, peeps. Xmas in June now in Canada, in Vegas. Moss is going to be going super, super hot like Alfonso's speed. And you are sitting next to a hero, Mr. T. I am. I am indeed. And we all need to somehow catch Edmund. He is so far above us. Yes, Prediction League, guys, want to know about that? Get in the Discord. The link is in the description. What was you going to say, bro? Sorry.
Yeah, it's all in the Discord. I'll drop all the games in probably tomorrow now. So you can copy that and put the comments. You can put it in the Discord. I'll pick it up from there. But it's really good if you can stick it in the comments afterwards, because there's traction. There's traction on this channel. If you click on some of T's older videos, he's got adverts which he doesn't get any money for, because he's very close to getting to where he needs to be to start getting monetized from this and to move into doing this more part-time and earning some money from it. So yeah, if you can, drop them all in there, keep the interaction going. And if you know someone that likes football or doesn't, just grab their phone and subscribe, because the closer you get to 1,000, T's already got the hours, already got the watch time. It's just the numbers now.
Yeah, correct. Appreciate you all. We're going to love and leave you now. And thanks to you for sticking with us for 2 hours for some of these streams, how I've achieved that watch time. So it's all up to you guys. Thank you so much. We're going to love and leave you. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening and your Friday. We will be back with plenty more content. So stay tuned. And we're out. Peace.